Proceed with the countdown.
10,
9,
8,
7,
6,
5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
0.
So I just feel like we're kind of bonding together and creating something new.
Hollywood's destroyed itself, and we're going to have to replace it. And this is the first step in doing that. And
we get back to just saying we're going to make a good story without any woke ideology. Comedians tell jokes that are funny, then we can sort of get back to the olden days.
Carve your own path, because there's no specific way to do anything. Like, you're doing your life, and they could write a movie about you one day. Stay true to yourself. Don't feel like you have to sell your soul, and have your vision.
Boy, do I have a surprise for you. Welcome to Talk Hard!
Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome to Talk Hard. I am Pops, and I hope you are all doing well and blessed out there in the interwebs. And with me, as always, to my left is Stone_Loki. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great, Pops. I'm doing great. Just watched Terror on the Prairie. Can't wait to talk about it. We're set. We're ready to go. And thank you, brother.
Yeah, let's chat about this. Good to be back. Took a few days off. Got a year older. All that fun stuff. So, all right, Ironcaster, my friend, how are you holding up?
Not too bad here. Just kind of got a bunch of housework done. I got a new bathroom all put together. Got the also fun stuff done while we had some time off there with the 4th and that.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I saw the bathroom work was underway, and man, I tell you, been there, done that. It's rough. So, hail to Chad. Dave Bob was in here early. He's talking smack about the group of people that can't do anything but make stormtroopers look like expert marksmen. I thought that was hysterical. So it's really kind of fun. Chris Persia, our Pops mod wrench there. He's hanging out with us. Thank you so much, Chris. And Zax is in the chat. Hey, Zax, hope you're doing well, my brother. Claude's popping in. Adega Outlaw. All right. Everybody's piling in here. Let's talk about this film. First and foremost, I want to say, it must just stink to be over at the Daily Wire and literally have to deal with like shadow banning and all this nonsense all the freaking time. So if you don't know about this film, you can't wiki it. You have to actually put in Terror on the Prairie wiki, and you will go to a non-existent page and have to click draft. They refuse to publish an actual wiki page. I kid you not, because of lack of sources. And no matter what I've tried, I didn't want to spend more than a few minutes figuring out what the issue was, but they're trying to say, long and short of it is, there's not enough valid reviews. There's not enough actual press, so they won't publish it. Meanwhile, over on Rotten Tomatoes, there are no critic scores. There's only 3 reviews, which includes Film Threat, which is a notable. It was in print. It's online. Obviously, Chris Gore is a renowned author and all that. One of his folks did the review. That doesn't count enough. There's a 0 critic score. There's not a 0. It's a non-existent. It's a dash, which means it doesn't exist. So that's got to stink too, man. You're basically just being shut out. And I think, do you guys remember when this actually premiered? Didn't they get the DDS attack the night of this? Is that when this? Yeah, this is freaking.
Oh yeah.
Children, man, freaking children over a Western. Like, Magical Mango's in here. Hail, hail, hail. Thanks for hanging out with us. And so here we are. Terror on the Prairie. Terror on the Prairie opens pretty fast. Should we do like some general thoughts, or should we just jump right into it? What are you guys up for?
I'd be down for a little bit of kind of our talk around it, because there's a lot to talk about with this, with a lot of the fanfare on this. I mean, obviously, as I think everyone who's in the chat and might be seeing this the replay knows about the situation with Gina Carano, how she was canceled from from Disney, and within the next day, Ben Shapiro and the guys that did the Daily Wire picked up the phone and had a movie deal for her right off the bat.
Yep, absolutely. First phone call I'd make. Actually, you know what? If I was the Daily Wire's press people, I would have been making the same phone call to Johnny Depp. Like, what can we do to hook you up, man? You want to get back at these people? Yeah.
Change the name of the movie. That's what they should have done. They should have changed the name of the movie. You remember back in the day, you take a driving class. I know Pops, you'll know about this. I don't know, Ironcaster, if you've ever had to take a driving class before where, you know, you get a ticket, or you gotta for insurance or whatever. They'll pull the old TV and VHS player out and they'll show you tapes of things called Blood on the Highway, Red Asphalt, all kinds of movies that go over, you know, death on the highway. They should have called this Gore on the Prairie. Because you see some shit. You see like a cow get his leg blown off. You see a guy get his arm blasted by a shotgun. It's like,
you get to see a scalping, man. They got a scalping.
You get to see a scalping. Pretty early 5
on.
minutes.
Like, yeah, we don't waste no time here. We're going to get to that right away. And you know what? Daily Wire didn't pull any punches. And actually, I've heard this about many of their other films, and I have not seen them all, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but this is a rated R film, man. They don't want to hold back. They did it. They went there. Give them kudos to that. So yeah, good, badness, and different. We're going to get to it and kind of tell you what's really going on with this film. So if you guys haven't seen this, you don't want some spoilers. We don't hold back. So if you don't want spoilers, sorry, you might want to catch us on a rerun. I don't want to do that. I want to just jump right to stuff. Let's talk to the nit and gritty. Let's tear this up. Good, bad, and otherwise. Film opens right away with some movement, man. We got a guy running, being chased down on horseback. He's running from the outlaws, and they get a hold of him pretty quick. Great scenery shots. I mean, they shot this on location, obviously, and they catch him, and you get introduced quickly. They're tearing this guy up, and you get introduced to Nick Searcy's captain, and captain's kind of the leader of these outlaws, and through the film we'll learn a lot more about his motivation. He goes into like a God speech. He loves to quote the Bible, loves to go into God speech. Later he reveals how he's the son of a preacher man. God takes too long and all that kind of stuff. So they go through all this. The dude's name is Gideon, and they look at this. They didn't pull any punches on camera, man. They're holding it up here, and they're giving him what's for with the God speech, and then.
Right up the top.
There you go. Scalped him right there, man. Just went right to it.
Yeah. I was surprised at like how quickly and how violent they got with this. Like I went in without any real expectations for what to get out of this, and
that's awesome.
They definitely shocked me up in my seat. I'm like, oh, I'm in for this kind of movie.
Yeah, 5 minutes in, we already got some violence. We got some gore. We're good, and then we cut to the farm. We cut to Hattie and life on the prairie, man, out in the middle of nowhere. This is set in Montana, post Civil War. Hattie and her husband live in the middle of nowhere in Montana, trying to make some sort of life for themselves. Basically, it's like frozen tundra most of the time. She's got a newborn, or I don't think we know exactly how old the baby is, who here she's breastfeeding. And they have a little son named Will. I would say Will's probably 9 or 10.
Yep.
Shout out to Gina. What they do in this first segment. So we got about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so of life on this, life on the prairie, but it ain't no little house on the prairie. This is like hardcore living. It's cold outside. You got to go out. Here she is pulling water out of a well. How to keep her house warm. Dealing with a infant newborn. Tough.
They were
living.
going so far as to like showing her like picking up the like buffalo chips to like have to burn those for fuel, like, which I liked as a good little bit of detail, because that was how there was like little lumber around at all, that to the point where you would have to basically burn poop to keep warm.
These sheets here, we're gonna see this again, folks. That's their bedroom. There's literally just a house. There's like multiple rooms. This is how people lived. It was like they're all under one roof. There's no walls and barriers, man. This is how it is. You see basically the way they have light inside the house. I think some really good research went into, the wood burning stove over here. This is the baby. This is basically their bassinet. It's here, and here is a wash tub. So they do laundry. And that's it. Her doing laundry on the inside. She has to stoke the fire to get it warm enough so that she can wash clothes by hand, scrubbing clothes, so they will hopefully dry. So I thought this was all really great stuff of how to deal with things. And then, of course, she has this sort of nightmarish scene. I want to get to it here so we don't go too far. She gets the gun out because there's a snake crawling on the floor next to where the bassinet was. So she pulls the gun out, presumably to attack the snake. Thought the snake was a little forced. I mean, I'm not sure the snake would be doing this thing here in the middle of Montana, but I'm not sure I know. So I'm not going to pretend. Fortunately, her husband comes home in time, grabs the gun away from her because she's a trembling mess. She's like to shoot herself in the foot. He grabs the gun, uses the butt of the gun to kill the snake. I will say just the idea of, hey, Atwoods wants to stop by and say, hey, before he does his stream. Thanks. Hey, man. Awesome. Hopefully you're doing well, man. Hopefully your stream goes well. Good luck to you tonight. I think what we set up here is her misery. It's revealed how she's kind of a rich girl from St. Louis. I will like the son is always trying to, I really like this too. Like, cause don't we all, we want to always look up to our dads. We want dads that are role models, and the boy just really looks up to dad. Dad's been very, how would you describe it, guys? He's kind of avoiding the conversation about his past. Is that a fair assessment? An oversimplification, maybe?
But considering what they did, considering what the Civil War was all about, and considering that war period, what people do, what people see, how they go through it, I'm really not surprised he doesn't want to talk about it. His kid looks at him like he's like this great Civil War hero, and I'm sure he doesn't feel that way at all. He doesn't look at himself like that at all. So he probably doesn't even want his kid acting that way around him, which you find out a little later when they're like having a father-son moment talking about it. And even his mom tells him the kid obviously has hero worship for his father and has made this like, my dad was a hero and did this. And that's not the way his dad sees it at all, or the way his wife sees it.
My dad is a sniper in the Great War.
Yep. And I thought it was good too, because we see basically this is an interesting element that I don't know what films could you think of, guys, that would sort of like talk about like post-Civil War life. I only thought of the TV show Deadwood really kind of get into some of this, but that was more of a frontiers show, right? So it's more of an established town. It's very congested. It was this one set piece of this town. This is more like rural living. So we didn't really see a lot of this in a lot of other movies and shows. Thought they did a great job of bringing something that kind of new to the screen in that way. I couldn't think of any other examples. I don't know if you guys did.
Unforgiven. I did get this little Unforgiven.
Oh, that's true.
Through some of the camera work and the way they did the lighting in this movie. That Unforgiven, when it's dark, it is a dark movie. And I'm not just talking about the tone. I'm talking about the film, the way they filmed it, everything they did. I kind of got that feeling at some points with this movie, that it's more raw, like Unforgiven was.
All right. I definitely can see there's a lot of inspiration. Well, if you're gonna shoot for it, you might as well shoot for the best. Arguably, Unforgiven is among the best. Maybe people can argue about the order of the best westerns, but I don't know how. I've seen lists and people will put Unforgiven way too low, and I'm like, I don't understand. You're not watching the same movie I am. And this is again, I think what you were saying, Loki, just the hero worship it all, looking at a medal, and the son's like propping up, the sharpshooting aspects of his past, and like, what were you doing, and how were you doing it? And there's wife cuddliness, and you see basically there's no intimacy because it's literally just a curtain. And then shooty shoo, they go in for the move, and then we cut to the next morning, and she's totally got the, I just did the night before kind of look on her face as she's out dealing with some livestock. in the freaking cold snow blizzard. They don't really have a good sense of the timeline here, but I also think with the way that there's snow and then not snow, we're dealing with probably weeks, if not months. They're not trying to make this seem like it's the next day, but I do think some people would watch this and feel like it's a more condensed timeline than probably what it is. Because this, and I kind of had forgotten about this scene about her dealing with the livestock because she's miserable. She doesn't know what she's doing. I actually wish that she would have been a little more inadequate because it would have fit the character that they were trying to play up, like why she'd be so miserable. And part of the misery working with animals is that they don't cooperate. You're always trying to repair something. You're always trying. You accidentally, they'll step in the milk. They'll, trust me, as someone who has a farm, that's probably the most challenging aspect of it all. Is the stuff you can't control. And I will say, she still looks way too hot to be living this kind of life. Sorry, no offense to all you ladies out there, but if you're living on a farm and working this kind of life, man, whew, you look tired all the time, dirty all the time, and Gina still looks pretty every shot.
I like the way her hair is done up in this. That's
true.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, these shots like this, it's hard to believe this is such a low budget film with shots like this. Great use of the money they had.
I love these backdrops, like especially like you get this nice wide shot like this. It is beautiful. Like just the colors, like it's mostly white, but you get the nice blend of blue in there. It can look great. It could have looked better because I mean, I changed my background here, and you can see there's a bit of like yellows and pinks in the sunset.
Yep.
Would have been kind of nice to see worked in. And here, let me.
Yeah, there was some of that. That would be like what either nightfall or the morning sun would look like. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wish there'd been some of that. I can go for that. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it does kind of work that the whole movie is that sort of kind of gray.
So this was a weird. So I watched it again today, and I will say I didn't like this scene as much the first time through as I do now, because I catch. So basically, what happens is these the Blackfeet Indians just show up, and she comes out. She sees these two. There's obviously a woman here behind him, and then she looks to her left, and there's another pair to her left. So she's kind of, I don't want to say surrounded, but she's surrounded. So she looks to her left, and there's two more. So why are they here? What do they want? Well, come to find out, one of them is very, very injured. So they're trying to hold her down. She's getting herself hurt, and they come to her, and she's going to sew up this gash, this huge wound that they don't explain, right? And we just kind of get the screaming fit. There's not going to be any. And first off, you're going to have a communication barrier with the natives, and then you're also going to have, you're not going to have any stuff. You're not going to have antiseptics. You're just going to do the best you freaking can and hope for the best is what you would do. And to be honest, back then, folks, what you would do is you'd sew that wound up, and they'd tell you to go get a leather belt and a stick, and you'd bite on it every probably 2-3 times a day. You'd probably pull straight booze on it, try to keep that thing clean. And that's really what you'd have to do and hope for the best, because Lord knows the infection would be high risk.
You know, a lot of this really went to show just how harsh the life of the homesteaders was then, that you are out here on your own. And
yeah, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I grew up in hearing stories from my grandfather, whose family were all farmers, about some of the home remedies they would have had to do. Like, you know, even here in Michigan, just with like the nearest doctor miles away, there's no ambulances, so you have to basically just kind of make do. Like, oh, if you got a sliver, you had to put your, if you got a sliver in your hand or something, you have to put it in a glove full of like cow manure to draw it out. This is one of the remedies they had.
That's true. Yeah, I tell you what. So in February is when I got COVID, and we live. I mean, every hospital is probably at least 30-40 minutes away. So we were headed out. I tell you, I was already like having problems and struggling and concerned. And that drive felt even longer than it was. And I can't imagine living something like this where, life and death is so much more in your face than my silly little bout with COVID compared to this kind of situation. And you have, like I said, you have basically, savages show up at your doorstep. You don't know what these people are wanting, doing. I mean, they're armed to the teeth. It's you and your 2 kids. Anyway, yes, Chris Burgess says great use of scenery. Yes, Chris could agree more. And Atwood did head out. So is what great wishes there. There's some gibberish here you're not able to really kind of follow. They give her basically a knife, the equivalent of like a blade, and that's they ride off, and she just kind of go ahead.
I feel like this should now be like, it's not Chekhov's gun, but it's Gina's knife now.
Yeah, look at the blood everywhere, man. They did such a great job with this scene, and especially because the next couple shots, when we get past all this, she just sits there. She's covered in blood. She is literally shell-shocked, right? Yeah. I thought all this was great. When I watched it the second time through,
have it hard today.
Oh my gosh, how many women would even be able to hold it together to sew up a wound? I don't know. It's brutal. Anyway, basically the husband does everything for her that night. He basically comes to bed and says, "Listen, all right, so kids are up, dishes are cleaned up. I'm sorry." She's like, "I'm done. I'm checked out. Let's go back to St. Louis." And you get backstory. Now you're going to get some backstory. Like, she was a wealthy girl. Dad's wealthy. I don't want to just go home to visit. I want to leave. We can't live. We're living in a shack in the middle of nowhere. He's like, no. We'll find a way. The next morning, he's going to head out. All right. So I will say this about my criticisms. So one of the problems that I have set up in the early part of the film is it seemed like they missed an opportunity to give us some time frames. Like, how long does it take for him to get to town and back? How long is he going out hunting? Is it an all-day thing, 6-hour thing? Because I think if there was some better use of time and clocks or something, we would have had even more tension later on. I don't know. Do you guys agree or not? I mean, I know there's a lot of tension anyway. I just felt like we never quite know how long he's going to be gone, for lack of a better spoiler. I don't know.
No, and you wouldn't. How long would you know? Hey, hey, babe, town's a day and a half ride, so I'm be in town till blah blah blah. Shit, you don't know. Something could happen to him on the way there. There ain't no. It's not like I can just call 911, babe. All kinds of things could happen. So yeah,
but that seems like it would be.
Amazon
I think that'd be
same-day delivery.
Yeah, but it'd be like more reason to let you know. Like, it's just the audience doesn't get to know. Like, I understand there's going to be the uncertainty, but it seems like the audience needs to know. All right, I'm going to be doing this. I'll see you on Tuesday, right? You'll see you in 2 days or whatever, or something like that. So you have a sense of the time. Again, this is more like the audience issue, not for the characters in the story. They know each other. They know what's going on. I don't. So, Christian Fandom Geek stopped in. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Thank you, and thanks for telling me everybody to snatch the like buttons and shares and all that nonsense. Absolutely. Jed heads out. He's going to try to find some money. And we have mother-son bonding here over candy. She reveals how, she grew up in a wealthy family and all that. And then we finally have the outlaws that shows up at her doorstep. And it's interesting because there's so many of them. And they just asked for water, and she's very gracious, like, take what you need. That's how all this kind of plays out. And it just kind of becomes this weird back and forth about we're going to buy eggs or whatever. And then, he's the son. So dad's gone. So he's the man of the house. He gets the quarter. And then there's kind of move forward a little bit. And then they're going to come inside. She's basically offering up a lot of food. So I thought, I don't know. She's very generous with what she's trying to do here. I'm not sure this, I don't want to say it made a lot of sense. I understand some hospitality and some gratitude in a certain way, but if you're that strapped for things, as she had said in the earlier scenes, I wasn't quite sure she'd be offering up like a full-on meal for 4 adult men. I'm like, I got your water. I can give you, you got some eggs. And yeah, absolutely, be great. I'll be happy to sell you what you want. Thank you so much. We needed that. I appreciate that kind of thing. So. Adeg is disagreeing with me, and that's fine. He says, the lack of knowing, I assume this is our time, it adds to the suspense. Okay, fair enough. And
There were
Gray
times
from
where
Japan is here as well. So go ahead.
There were times where I did kind of appreciate that, not knowing like how long's the father been gone. It can work, but
Yeah,
there are
I'm just
times where
mixed
this
on it.
movie, like I
Yeah,
said, there are times where the movie does feel like there's information it should be giving you that isn't as obvious, but some of it I can kind of fill in a little bit of the blanks and kind of and easily explain away or just kind of dismiss. Like here, it seems like Gina's the premise is that like, well, here's these four strangers rode up out of nowhere from the middle of nowhere, and she's miserable. She hates it here. She doesn't want to deal with any trouble they might bring.
true. I mean, I think that's what they're going for, right? She just feels obviously 4 men are going to have their way with her. She doesn't have a lot of choice, trying to be as hospitable as possible without raising an eyebrow. I thought it was a strange writer's choice to have this scene with the baby. Like he's going to pick the baby up, handle the baby, sing to the baby. I thought all of that was actually like, I don't know. It makes him very menacing and strange at the same time. I don't know.
Well, I think it further builds up how the elements about him being the father.
Mm-hmm.
This very fatherly figure. He loves. He had this affection for his daughter, and spoilers from the movie. But to then sit here and cradle the daughter of the man they're searching for.
Right.
Yeah, that never quite set right with me either. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna hold this kid and I'm gonna talk to it and I'm gonna sing to it, and then you know what? I might just put a bullet in it later, but I'm gonna get close to it before I do that because yeah.
There's a big contradiction with all of that too. He starts to play the man of God card. I won't hurt women and children, but it's like at the end he's willing to hurt women and children. I'm like, well, then why didn't you just kill them when you first got there? There is a contradiction there that I have to be fair that, and this was kind of, like I said, she's literally given up a whole lot of food and a whole lot of stuff for some strangers when she was just complaining about how little they had earlier. And I just thought it was overzealous, and I think it was really done to set up the fact that she could come out here to the horse, and that's where she would see the scalp. So she knows, oh, they're not good people. I'm really in over my head here. They are definitely malicious men. And she gets her kid back, gets it to the son, splits everything up. And then there's like the gun drawn kind of thing. That's where we end up going. She's like, y'all need to go. What was weird was there's a quick, did you guys pick up on the quick line about like, what are we waiting for? I'm like, we just looked past that line. Like it was a very quick reveal that these guys are seriously hostile. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like that line almost like creates and there's no going back kind of moment, but that line didn't really shake or change the direction of anything. I don't know. So little moments like that, I thought I would take a little bit of issue with, but she's holding her own. They don't want to try to over. I don't know. Again, I think Ironcaster we're kind of dancing around this contradiction of why would they not just overtake her? I mean, she only has 2 rounds. I mean, I know someone's going to get hurt, but they ultimately get hurt anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for what their ultimate goal is just waiting for her husband to show up. Ultimately, they frankly they don't need them. They can just dispose of them, leave them in the barn, wait for him to show up.
Yep, they don't need her for anything, and she doesn't need them. And that's the biggest problem I have with this movie is nobody should have been walking out of that house under their own power besides the winner of that contest. It should have never gone to the outside. Either they should have taken care of her then and there and the kids, or she should have taken care of them. No one walks out under their own power. No enemy walks out under their own power. One side wins, one side loses. That.
Yeah, I thought it was just a strange, contrived element to have them come in and eat, but they were just saying they didn't have a lot of food and resources. And then she just draws the weapon on them. Y'all need to leave because you scalped somebody. I think you're evil. They don't jump her. She lets them leave, and then it basically just comes, they're on the outside, she's on the inside, firefight. That's kind of where we end up. And that's what happens. There's also like a lot of wasted bullets. Dave Bob accurately pointed out nobody can shoot. Nobody can shoot. She never gets shot. Like at this point, somehow she convinces him to leave the gun again with the shotgun. I thought that was just absurd. That was literally just the only way to make it even remotely believable would be they can't have their sidearms. They have to be using rifles, because if they had their sidearms, they would have just shot her. Even if they just shot her in the leg or something, it would have been able to incapacitate her. So it's sort of like the forced. I don't want to give the film too much pass on this, because if it was like a regular studio film, this would have driven me completely nuts. That it was just contrived to have this sort of standoff thing. And I just think it all started with that stupid meal. We didn't need to have the meal. If they'd been outside and she kind of said, look, and you got what you got, we're good to go. And then when she goes back in, maybe they start shooting or they start calling out or something, or they don't leave. I don't know. It would have made a little more sense to me, I think. I don't know what you guys think.
Just real quick, I'm just kind of looking at the actual set itself, and just the way the log cabin is built with the dirt all just hold up together to, pad in between the logs. It feels, authentic.
Oh yeah, I don't even know the type of mortar that they use. The Indians obviously were experts on all of this kind of stuff. I know that there's they would use a lot of paper and different things to fill every little gap. Plants, they'd roll up plants, all sorts of things. They would have these things they would use to kind of seal this. All of this was great. I thought, we love to talk about, or I love to talk about set design and all that. They did a lot with having like one location. They did a lot. Like it's a lot of details. This is the only other locations when they go into town. And before we go there, anything else you guys want to say about our current standoff or anything like that? Because the captain's going to get out there and he's just going to yap nonsense like he's been doing. So
she can't hit. She couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with that shotgun.
No.
But at least you can kind of you can explain it with her being unable to hit, because it wouldn't have been expected for her to. Whereas you can't say the same for the Outlaws.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, them giving up their sidearms and still not being able to shoot her, at least injure her or something, I thought was difficult. And then Jeb's in town. He's trying to get a job, trying to get work. It's not going anywhere. He's going to go. We'll get back to him. And then she's trying to coach the son into some sort of plan. Captain's just talking all sorts of nonsense, but reality is they're all going around the side. They start shooting first, so she starts shooting. At one point, she unloads a revolver and doesn't hit a thing. She just like click. I don't know. I mean, I agree. Ironcaster is right. It makes sense because she doesn't know what she's doing, but it also got to the point of almost like being absurd with the missing. Yeah.
I think she would have had better luck if she just shot up in the air blindly. Gravity might have done a better shot, because I think she could have probably learned from some stormtroopers at this point.
Yeah, Dave Bob was great, calling Swifter. So here's where we're gonna okay. So I got to be honest, this scene is important because once you start killing the cow, you've become like an evil that you're not coming back from. Like I don't really care what comes out of the captain's mouth. I don't really care what any of them have to say to be quote trustworthy. You just for no reason murdered the cow. Like, there's no reason to murder the cow. You're just trying to lure her out. But this was really, really something. I guess I should let it play a little bit to get to the right spot, because they don't waste any. Yeah, they took the shot, man. They figured out something there. Yeah, they just took the shots. So Daisy, I think, is the cow's name. Anyway, yeah, take out the cow. They're gonna murder the cow. There's one shot though, so one of them gets hit. So there's a lot of just waiting and talking right now, talking about dad, talking about all that kind of stuff. She's trying to figure out. This is the cliche: the looking in the mirror, looking at myself. I'm a complete failure. I can't hit the side of a barn. What am I going to do to protect these kids? I'm outnumbered. That kind of stuff is what we're going for. I thought some of the stuff worked. It was okay.
I thought Gina Carano was good in The Mandalorian and some of the other stuff I've seen her in, but in this movie, she's pretty much has the same expression throughout the entire film. So you're not really getting a range of emotion from her from this. It's a fairly monotone performance, I thought.
I agree until the final act. I think in the final act she gets to really just come unglued and becomes pretty good. She's got some good scenery and stuff to work with at the end. But up until then, she basically just kind of plays this same sort of look, the hair, her costume. There's not a whole lot of anything that changes to work with here, but at the very end, it does. I don't know. There's not a lot to say. Loki, do you have anything to add on any of this? I'm kind of zipping through scenes and stuff like that.
Gina's a natural beauty, whether she's got that one expression on her face or not, whether she's talking Russian in Command and Conquer, or whether she is playing a bounty hunter in Star Wars. She's got this natural beauty about her, and you can't help but go, you know what? This is a woman out in the middle of nowhere who's dealing with 9 kinds of hell, who's already thought she was dealing with 9 kinds of hell before any of this happened. And I'll say it again, what I said earlier. Women think they have it hard now. Mm-hmm. You have absolutely no effing idea. Things like this. Things like when women were fighting for voting. There's a lot of stuff you hear today about how bad they've got it. Bull effing crap.
Yeah, here she's trapped in her house. She's got a newborn and a little boy. She's outnumbered. Her husband's gone to town to work. May not be back anytime soon. She doesn't even know. And she's not good with any weapons. She doesn't know what to do. And this is literally like a turning point for her. And then this scene, okay, I don't know. We had to contrive a way to get the kids out of harm's way, in my opinion. So it starts with this guy questioning the captain about, I thought we aren't going to hurt women and children. He goes into, his history a little bit about the death of his girl, but he also makes it very political because they're very anti-Lincoln and the stuff in the war and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what happens. I will say this, Nick Searcy, he's fantastic in the film. I will say this, compared to a lot of Westerns, which their villains tend to sometimes get way over the top, his actually seems very believable, except some of the Bible quoting stuff just went too much. Like we just got carried away with some of that kind of stuff. I don't know what you guys think.
I did like the way the approach they took to kind of talking about the Civil War, to talking about him being the tyrant Lincoln. It's not something that has been really brought up a lot, and that sort of narrative on it having been really discussed. So I thought it was kind of a refreshing take on it, on the Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, I also think just, I think Hateful Eight is really the only film I could think of too. I mean, you mentioned Unforgiven, Loki, but Hateful Eight really gets into some of the really dark, gritty stuff that would happen. And, we'll just burn a whole house or building down. Doesn't matter who's inside and things like that. So, they at least do a good job of kind of raising some of those conversations here. Again, Dave Ops pointed out, shotguns at point blank range. Yeah. And she just wants to go home to St. Louis. Yeah, I think that she's very conflicted, and that's kind of what we've been dealing with here. We get all this. It moves forward a little bit, and we realize what she's done is she decides she's going to start a fire, try to draw some attention, and hopefully smoke signal, get the white smoke going so someone knows something's wrong. And of course it draws them out because they panic and realize that some people could be showing up to help her. That was great. I got to be honest, didn't see it coming. That was a good twist. I like that part. This part was great. They're all out in the middle of nowhere though. I mean, can't shoot anybody, can't hit anybody. Anyway, neighbor shows up trying to help, and they round him up. He doesn't get away after all. And again, we're gonna not double down. We're gonna triple down now on them just being evil. Because he's like, no, you don't have to kill him. Oh yeah, well, they do. Literally, like bloody to the throat. And this was very, very good scene. I got to be honest. This guy didn't get the credit. He's not going to get the credit he deserves for his part. Very believable that he would just start quoting Psalms 23. By the way, I mean that is a very easy to learn, popular scripture that Bible-believing people during that era would quote if they were faced with death. It's used a lot at funerals and those kinds of things as a word of encouragement. This is a very underrated scene, in my opinion. And as Ironcaster pointed out, and Loki too, a lot of gore. We bloody that dude up. She just starts closing her eyes and firing. Dave Bob, don't you love that shot right there? Her eyes are closed. Yeah, just blasting away.
Gore on the Prairie with Gina Carano, and who cares who else is in the movie?
Nobody cares. Nick Cersei's there. Yeah, very, again, clever little, I don't want to say twist, but clever little nuance, right? How do you see at night? She makes torches, throws them out every window, so in all four directions she can at least see something, so she can tell if they're coming. Jeb didn't get any work. Jed didn't find any luck, so he goes into a saloon. He's playing poker. He's going to gamble with his pocket watch. Comes out with a wad of cash. What do you think of Jed's storyline here? Like the prostitute comes up to him and she's trying to solicit him. He's been drinking, obviously, and he's like, "Listen, I'm married. Get off me." All that kind of stuff. What do you think about his little story, if there is one?
Well, it's kind of unfortunate that we didn't get a whole lot of him in the movie because he's just really an accessory to Gina's character and helping to build her up more.
Right.
But it does show that it does go to show that building of that moral character, that out here in the middle of nowhere, essentially, that there are good men who will still stay true to their word, to their vows, to their promises.
I agree with
That's
that.
what they're going for. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And they've only got a short time to do that. This movie's only like, what, an hour and 40 minutes long? So they've got a limited amount of time to get you to know, hey, this isn't a guy that's going to, bounce off a piece of prostitute at the local saloon. He's not going to do that. He got his money. Did he do something he shouldn't have, trying to gamble the pocket watch? Yes, but he knows he needs it, and he did it for a good reason. Anything after that is a complete waste of time and not why he went into town. So him being like, no, it's all right. I'm married. Go run along, little doggy. And that all makes sense to me.
And they almost went for the nudity, didn't they? They I gotta give some kudos, man. They went to the limits here. Daily Wires didn't hold back on some authenticity. Got to give him some kudos. And Cowboy Cerrone, he's a singer, I believe, by trade. He looks the part. I mean, I'm assuming this is a fake beard of some kind. I don't think he grew his beard out. I don't know. I'm interested to know. But he looks good. Come back to the house. Gina's trying to hold it down, man. She got the kids in her arms, telling some stories, teaching him how to make coffee. Again, I think Ironcast should give you kudos. So those folks that think they have it rough making coffee, getting their Starbucks in the corner, they don't know how to make coffee. I teased my wife and said the biggest crisis of our economy might be if you can't get your coffee syrup. And she says, funny you say that. And she was talking about how her favorite type of coffee syrup has become difficult for her to find. I'm like, uh-oh.
Hit a little close to home.
I didn't realize it either. And then as we were out and about during vacation, she was going to every single one of these places. So. All right, so one of the outlaws tries to convince her that he's going to be helpful. Comes in with his little story. His little shenanigans is underway, and nope. She caught on the fact that they used Jed's name, and she plows him. She gets him. That was point blank range. She didn't miss that one. She got that one. Great look at the facial expression too, Gina. Gina was bringing it on this scene. This scene was easy for her. She's like, okay, I'm in my roots now. I can do this scene. Yeah, this was her at her best. I got to be honest, and we're getting to the very end of the film. This is when the film is its best, is in the third act. Its third act is great. Some of this other stuff I think is a little tedious and drawn out a little much, but I think Ironcaster really hits the nail on the head with a lot of it is about homesteading life, showing how difficult all this is, as Loki said, coming up with a solution, trying to figure out how do I save my kid? So I'm trapped, I'm doing whatever. She comes up with this scheme to get the boy to use Mare and just go. We'll just kind of do a diversion. We're going to get you out of here, get you gone. And I thought it worked really well. I actually thought that was pretty believable. That's what a mom would do. And they try to chase him a little bit. Again, location stuff. stuff. You know, we can't complain about this film, Ironcaster. They're on location with water filming. They couldn't fake this with CGI. This was it, man. They're on location.
I
They're
could
not
have
using
Marvel
any of
doing this
those.
today.
They aren't using any of those 360 rooms like they did on Boba Fett and The Mandalorian.
No, there's no volume. Isn't it called the vault or the volume? What's it called? The vault? I don't know what it's
I think
called.
it's called the Vault.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's crap. No, this is on location. I believe it. Mostly everything was filmed in Alaska, right? Is that what you guys heard too? I'm pretty sure most things were filmed in Alaska. This was freaking great. Anyway, they tell him, here, grab your kid and run. And she just sacrifices herself for her kid. Good cut back there to know that they're safe. He just keeps it moving. But they got her. They got her. And this is kind of where the film gets really good after a quick, like, little, I don't know. It has to get a little too cliche. Like, you get almost like the moment of too convenient that Jed just happens to come by the right time in the right place and whatever, and finds them, and jumps literally like a leap in the air. Maybe I should rewind that so we can leap in the air. I thought the leap in the air was a little much. Right. It's a little, got to get a little further.
You know, with
by the way, no one sees him. It's right here, by the way. It's funny. Go ahead.
He just happens to be looking away. But it's like, you could hardly tell this was done. This was winter at the same time, like probably a day or two later.
It's funny, by the way. No one hears the horse. No one hears him get off the horse, and he literally does. You know, I am Iron Man. It was a little much for me, guys. I mean, I'm all right with it in a way. He manages not to roll into the fire, but I don't know.
Pancaked his ass.
Yeah, took him out. And got to be honest, man, he would be out cold, man. Going face first in frozen ground like that. You know, he's probably what, 200-pound man, give or take, pounding on basically your upper torso like that. Oh yeah. What's that?
Almost into the fire.
Yeah, he almost rolls into the fire. Yeah. Then comes up with the gun drawn. Everyone's on somebody. He's totally outnumbered. Got hurt by the knife. Everybody's kind of screwed. It's weird though, and again they derail it a little bit. We don't go full on spaghetti western because they beat on him and stuff, and they, you know, whatever. But they allow him to kind of like walk out. Yeah, we're just gonna do a little walk and talk. I did not like the walk and talk. I was like, no walk and talk. We wouldn't do that. No walk and talk. They can walk and talk whenever they're tied up, and you know they'd be spatting at each other and be told to shut up or something maybe. But I didn't care for the walk and talk.
Yeah, you figure they would have like told him to quit talking.
Yeah. Outlaw called it the ninja strike. Yeah, it was a little over the top. I gotta be honest.
He
shot him with the
ninja
jumping.
skills on the prairie.
Yeah. But I will say again, we're getting our last 20 minutes. The problem is the captain does too much talking. They string him up outside. They're going to torture him. He tells his men, you know, no, we're going to kill him no matter what, obviously. Every cliche has to be there. She basically offers herself up as a prostitute. She basically offers herself to sleep with each one of them. And he says, you know, you're basically going to let your wife become a whore. She gets him in, and he just starts beating on her. And these scenes, I don't know about you guys, man. I was impressed. Gina brung it.
Oh, yeah.
Gina brung it. She's getting beat. She's getting pummeled. There's none of this 120-pound girl, you know, taking down 3 men easily. This is an MMA fighter, and she's having a struggle, but she does finally get her little knife. She reaches over, gets her little knife. So when he ends up on top of her, she basically just spears him in the side of the neck. And then
this is where we get that Gina's knife.
Let me tell you what, I got kudos too, by the way. They don't just do like a silly death. Like he's still twitching and moving, and we don't get some. Don't you hate that though? Like some little flesh wound and they're just dead, no more movement. Like a death usually involves a whole lot of neurological twitching and movement, lots of blood. There'd be a lot of blood, and at least there's some on her. I think there'd probably be even more, but I liked all of this. Thought this is the highlight of the movie. but she's going to come back, and she is going to let the audience know this is not a PG Christian, careful with your no, I'm Gina Carano, man. Gina's knife right here. Hardcore. Gina is bringing these scenes. Oh, the end of this movie is when it all, and he's still like coughing, I think, and very, very good. This is the best. Meanwhile, it's taken a little while, so these two knuckleheads are too busy talking about their erections and whatever nonsense they're talking about. I didn't even care at that point. I just knew it was dumb because she's going to start shooting at them or whatever. They can't shoot her. She can't shoot them. It's basically what Dave Bod said. Dave Bod's absolutely right. Nobody can shoot anybody from far. Dude's supposed to be a sharpshooter. Now, he has a revolver. Everyone's beat up pretty well. So we have more showdown. She did take a bullet. The first time I watched this, I kind of had to rewind it. I'm like, when did she get hit? She got hit when they were running in. And she gets hit in the belly. There's a dead guy. Nick Cersei runs in, finds a dead guy, and suddenly he's emotional and sensitive. Did you guys have any clue to why that shot is in this movie? Like, why does he care? Like, he hasn't shown any allegiance to these guys. He treats them like crap. He talks to them like crap the whole time. Did I miss something? Why he would care about this one guy?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, I think they were trying to go, and one of the intentions might have been they wanted to do this for more of the others, or something that might have just gotten dropped on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of off-putting that of all of them, we just get this one who he gets that sort of emotional attachment to. Not for the other guy, the younger guy who they sent to the front door to get blasted like he did, but just
that shot I didn't make a lot of sense to me. They either didn't set it up or, like you said, it got cut out. He basically sets it on fire. They're trapped in this barn and they're taking their pot shots at him. Get lots of gunfire. I think Jed's going out the side. They're literally on each other. You guys might not agree with me on this shot, but this is it's coming. Oh, I didn't like that shot. I'm sorry. I know. It's the Western cliche. I don't know. Am I in the minority with my didn't like that shot? I'm supposed to love that shot. Did you guys like that shot?
Nope.
It's a shot you saw coming with the way it's set up. He's sitting in the doorway. You're like, okay, Gina Carano hasn't been seen in like a minute. She's obviously going to be right behind him. It was cliche. It was predictable.
He was holding a dead man's hand from the last time he was in town. That's why he got shot from behind.
Mm-hmm. I will say this to Jed. At least he is staggering around authentically. Everyone looks wounded. Her and Gina both. They look a mess. This dude just gives up. He's like, I'm no match for this nonsense. Throws his rifle down. She's trying to hold her wound, which she would barely be able to stand. He gets on his horse, and then suddenly, let's see, yeah, Jed gets it live up to his name here. Sorry, missed shot. He lines up and takes the shot, and that's the end of the outlaw. Shoots him in the back. Then they embrace.
But Daddy, you said you weren't that good of a rifleman. I guess he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also after the river, the kids just disappeared.
Well, in theory, they're either hiding in the woods or they're going to a neighbor. Because obviously the one neighbor may have been the closest neighbor, but that would be your thing. You would tell them what neighbor. And again, maybe it got cut or something. We don't really know where they were, but they're allegedly safe. I don't know. To me, it's just
hey, we're the Joneses. We're your new neighbors. Oh, that's so great. The last neighbor got his throat cut by these evil men that came on the property. Remind me never to come back to your house.
I'm not coming back here at all. Good to know you. So then they cut to the end.
Ask for sugar or anything.
Nope, you're on your own. I'm on my own. Yeah, they cut to the end, and they're rebuilding the house because it had burned down. So, terror on the prairie. All right, so. Who wants to go first? Suddenly he can shoot. Well, he didn't get a lot of shots, Dave Bob. I have to give him we'll give Jed a little bit of credit because he claimed to be a sharpshooter. doesn't have a lot of he's not given a lot of opportunities to be a marksman, but when it mattered, he does do it. He shoots the guy in the back. But who wants to go first?
Honestly, I think that this is one of those movies you catch in the middle of the night that you're like, wow, why? I've never heard of this movie. And it can be a cult classic. There's some Westerns out there that are cult classics, some old spaghetti Westerns, some old stuff. Definitely Deadwood was not like hugely popular when it first came out, and
Right.
the movie that came out definitely wasn't like an oh my god, it's Deadwood the movie, but it had its followers, it had people that loved it, and it felt raw. This felt very raw. This is one of those movies that feels raw. It's got creative talent. The filmography of this movie was great. I loved the way they took their shots. I loved the light levels. It felt very real and very raw to me. So that's pretty much.
And I know it's expensive to film on location, but I think one of the things I want to make sure that we're clear with what you're saying is this film really benefited from being shot on location.
Oh yeah, if this was done on a set, yeah, this would suck ass if this was done on like a set or on one of those sound stages where you've got video all around you, green screened, whatever. No, this completely benefited from being on location. Gina does a good job in this movie. I didn't even catch the fact that she was like that she came from money or anything like that. I didn't even catch that. I don't know why I didn't catch that. I just thought she was, this is hard. This is a hard life. It's a hard life out here in the middle of the nowhere, away from town, on your property. Nothing but, we got to get our own water. We got to kill our chickens. We got to shoot the coyote that's killing the chickens and eating them. That it's a hard ass life. And if you don't get your ass out of bed and do your job, guess what? Something's not getting done and you're not getting fed tonight. So there is no, well, I don't feel good today, or I'm having a day, or I've got postpartum, or any of that shit. It's you get your butt up and you go to work, and you've got to go to work. There is no not working because you're keeping yourself alive by doing that.
Right. Absolutely agree. Ironcaster.
One of the things that really stuck out to me, I noticed as I was watching through it, was the lack of music.
Yeah, there's no score.
Which I don't know if it's just partially because of the MCU, the Marvel movies, a lot of the more modern movies where you expect some sort of score, even if not constantly throughout it, but like at certain points you would expect music to kind of help build and develop the narrative and kind of help the storytelling. This let you kind of sit and stew in it. Which in a way I think really helped to pull me into it. Yeah, Dave Bob's right. Budget
probably is the reason. We agree. I agree, Dave Bob. But I agree with Ironcaster too. Like a lot of times, the score is going to spoil a scene. Like the rises and the falls will ruin some of the setup than the script. So the film I thought stood on its own in a lot of ways. And I will say again, Adega brought up, the fact we don't know what's going on with the timeline helps us keep the suspense level. I think the fact that there's no music as well does too. Like we don't have any music that's trying to, pull on our emotional strings on what's going to happen next.
Right. It does a really good job with that, of really giving you that sense of isolation. That it's just with the husband gone, it's just her and the son there and the daughter. That's all there is around. There's no radio to turn on. There's no nothing. It's just complete silence, except for animals in the barn.
Yeah, well, there wouldn't be a radio. Just
right.
Just so everybody knows. So how do you kind of rank it in the grand scheme of things, Ironcaster?
I think ultimately it is a good start. If they can take this and kind of look back on it and learn from what was wrong with it, and kind of ignore all the reviews on like IMDb that are just like perfect 10s and the 1s, because that's the people biased on both ends.
Yeah, that's a waste of time.
That it was kind of sitting at around a 6, and I think that feels to be about a fair score ultimately. it has some issues with the plot and some of the obvious stuff that both you and Loki have pointed out for the major flaws. But it wasn't. It's one of those movies where you're gonna expect kind of it's tough, it's gritty,
I enjoyed that more. I enjoyed it more than some other westerns. Right, there are other westerns that I enjoyed this more. I would rewatch this more than others. I was going to pull up the name of some of the ones I've seen that have been done in the last, I don't know, 15 years or so. I don't put this anywhere near the top of the list or anything like that as far as... go ahead.
Can I add to something you and Ironcaster brought up before you go on to the list? When you're looking at those 10s and those zeros, I'll tell you guys something, and this is what is most important about being an honest critic and talking about how you saw the movie and how you feel about the movie. Just because this was done by the Daily Wire and that Gina Carano's in it and she's coming off of getting fired from Disney does not mean that this movie gets an automatic 10. And the people that are doing that, all that does is tell Daily Wire, well, we've got our perfect film.
We arrived.
We need to make more films exactly like this. When that's not the way it is. Because eventually, those people with those tinted glasses on are going to take those glasses off and you go, you know what? I'm really not digging the movies they're coming out with. And all that's going to do is make the Daily Wire fail and not make any more movies. So by being honest, by giving your honest opinion, by saying, you know what, I like this about the movie, I like this, I like how I saw this, and I didn't like this, that lets them know, hey, guys, we've still got some work to do. We've still got a ways to go before we get there, but we're on the way. Instead of praising it to no end and going, "Oh my God, this is the greatest movie ever," or "This is complete trash because it has Gina Carano."
That's not accurate. So let me ask you this, because this was a side topic I was going to do in a video or a stream at one point. The way we rank or grade a film has changed so radically now. So it used to be a five-star system, right? So there really weren't fives very often. And now IMDb came along and now it's a scale of 10, right? And then people are kind of like even weird about 10 because it's like, well, it's an 8.5 or it's a 7.5 or whatever. So it's like there's like basically it's a scale of 20, right? That's kind of what that means. But if you say a movie is a 3-star movie, which is a good ranking, that'd be like a 6, which is kind of where Ironcaster was going. Dave Bob says a 5.
It's a passing score.
It's a good film. I think we would all say this is a good film. It's not a great film. It is not a top 10 Westerns of all time kind of thing or anything like that. But if I apply that same principle to like Rotten Tomatoes and I give this film a 60, I'm a jackwagon. Because 60 seems so low, even though the you know what I'm talking about, the numerical scale and the perception of the numerical scale, it's so out of whack now. I don't even know how to do it. I'm not sure Unforgiven is a 10. It's probably the close. To me, it's Unforgiven and Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Those are the two. They're the top. They're the top tier. They're like the 9.5s. I'm not sure they're 10's tough because 10 is like this perfection that almost. Oh, Ironcaster's in here twice. Hi, Ironcaster. How you doing? Did you freeze up one time?
He must have froze up.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on. It's like
I almost want to leave him in there to see if people would notice.
I get things freeze up every now and then, and it's like primarily seems like during the stream, and I don't know why. It's
probably my end. Let's be honest. Look, I like the film. It's a rewatchable film. I don't think it's. Help me with the names of some of these films. What's that? What the Viggo Mortensen has one. Ed Harris is in or whatever.
Hidalgo?
No. Well, yeah, that one too. But there's others. There's another one. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of these movies that have been done the last 10, 15 years. And they're like, yeah, they're all right. Like, it's okay. It's in sort of that category, but I will give this film a little bit of extra credit in that because of its grittiness and realism and because of some of the gore and some of the stuff that's in there, I liked it better than those. I would rewatch this more. If Ironcaster appears a third time, I'd be worried. Yeah, it's funny. Outlaw Josie Wales was a solid B. Unforgiven. Oh, solid 8. Unforgiven 8.5. Yeah. See, Dave Bob, you're feeling me, man. Like it's hard because everybody wants to do 10s and 1s. 10s and 1s are like unicorns. Like I can count on one hand that I feel comfortable giving something a 10, and I really would pause after about 2 or 3. But just be careful.
Tombstone for me. Tombstone would get a 10.
Yeah,
for me. I know that movie backwards to forwards. I can quote every line in that movie. It is probably my most watched Western of all time. And even though historically it's not accurate, I don't give a shit. Kurt Russell nailed that movie. And the fact that he practically directed it on
Val
top
Kilmer.
of that.
Val Kilmer.
And then throw Val Kilmer in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so this movie is like I think I agree with Loki. Like, it's one of those, I think its legacy could be whatever Gina does with her career. Like, she was in a Western? Oh yeah, that Daily Wire one. It's real gritty. You'd like it. It's like that kind of movie. It's like that 6, it's in that 5 to 7 scale. It's not in the elite class, but it's not crap. And I think they deserve credit for what they accomplished. I think they benefited a lot from on set. I think they benefited a lot by not getting caught up with a bunch of meandering subplots or anything like that. And actually, some of the stuff that's in there is kind of a meandering subplot. I kind of want to raise my hand a little bit. Like, why do we need this shot or this scene and things like that? But it was never terrible. And I will say, because of, I think it is a little bit what you hit the nail on the head, Ironcaster, with the lack of a score and the scenery is so freaking great that I enjoy watching it again. Like, the second time through, I enjoy just as much as the first time through. I didn't have like a major fall off, but I can tell you there are these other Westerns. I tried to pull up a Western list and it didn't give me what I wanted.
I think ultimately this will be a movie I will enjoy recommending to others, or maybe bringing people along to watch, because I think it does a good job of kind of setting itself and kind of getting you into that about how isolating it is, much like The Thing was.
I think The Thing is a much more nuanced and definitely a much better film.
Yes.
I mean, just the cohesiveness of the script is a much better script. There's a lot of good Westerns. I got to be honest. I'm looking at the list and I kind of stand a little bit corrected. And I do not see the ones that I was thinking of that I would never watch again, because I'm actually seeing good movies like The Revenant, Hateful Eight, True Grit. I love both versions of True Grit. I mean, I don't care if I take my credentials away. I actually don't care for Django Unchained. Some people like that Tarantino one. I think Hateful Eight's a much better film. All the versions of the Hateful Eight are better. He said, Dave Bob says Tombstone's a 9. I'm probably more in the he has Tombstone ahead of Unforgiven as well. I would just kind of flip that a little bit. I kind of have it. They're all in that very high end for me. Because to me, the tens, there's 3 solid 10s, and that's Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and Shawshank Redemption. They've never aged. They're still freaking, the scripts are just almost, there's not anything that can be deleted. I think if we add genre film, like we have like a subcategory, because I'm not sure it would count as an overall film, but that's where Wrath of Khan has kind of landed. Like, it literally is like the 10 of science fiction. Like, now I'm like with Empire Strikes Back, like these are these 10s in science fiction. And in Westerns, I think it is kind of an Unforgiven, Tombstone race, and then Good and Bad and the Ugly. Because I think Good, Bad, and the Ugly, as I rewatched it again last year, maybe it's during the pandemic, so it's 2020. My goodness, that film holds up, Tal. Oh my gosh, it's so gritty and tough and rugged and real. Clint Eastwood gets his butt handed to him in that film. I didn't realize how bad he got pummeled. That was unheard of with John Wayne films and stuff in the day. So go ahead, Ironcaster.
Oh, I'll just say, if it comes down to like just a matter of personal taste, like a movie like Army of Darkness is for me a 10. It is one of my favorite movies, and I can't take the rose tinted glasses off of that movie. It's so quotable. It's just such a beloved film.
And I think that there's always
sorry, Pops.
I was just saying there's nothing wrong with giving something bonus points because you loved it. Like I always said about Tron, I love Tron way more than I should. Like, I can give Tron bonus points. Go ahead, Loki. That was all.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for all of you that don't know, Ironcaster was in Army of Darkness. He plays the skeleton that's like, "We have plans for you, girly girl." He's dragging the naked women across the screen by a chain. Yeah, that was him.
We gotta get that.
Nobody knows.
Where's all you memers? Where are all you memers out there for that? And that's what we got to do with that.
Actually, I do have some reprints of some of the art from that. I got to go meet with one of the guys from that at a convention. He had a bunch of art prints of like pages of the Necronomicon. So,
wow, very cool. Other westerns and other thoughts. To me, Pale Rider. I think I love Pale Rider. It came out when I was really in my heyday of going to the theater all the time. So I remember seeing Pale Rider in the theater. Really loved that. I just love old westerns too. I really do love like the old Magnificent Seven and stuff like that. So Dave Bob says, I don't really think any film deserves a 10. I have a lot of favorites, but I've never seen a perfect movie. Laugh out loud. Okay, fair enough. Like I said, Godfather and Godfather 2 are the two because they're one film. Like it literally is like, I know there is like the recut version. I don't even know. Were you talking about that or not? Did we talk about is there the Godfather in chronological order? I don't know that I want to see it in chronological order again, but
we did talk about that.
It's all so perfect. It can be two films. It can be re-edited. Oh,
I didn't like it. I like it just the way it is.
I think I like the original version more, but
watching what happens with Vito before you ever meet Michael, it's so odd. It just changes the whole dynamic. It's more of like a generational biopic after that than it is like the movie it was intended to be.
I don't want to know that Don was that violent of a guy. Like it was cooler in the original Godfather to not know his backstory yet, to have it be a mystery.
Yeah.
And then in Godfather 2, the fact that you have the Don's backstory juxtaposed against the rise of Michael is what makes it so brilliant, with obviously the Fredo ending. But yeah, listen, everyone has their own tastes and nuances of how they kind of look at things. I agree with you, Ironcaster, too, about something like Army of Darkness. You can have these favorite ones. They get bonuses. You know, comedy is a different one. Comedy is a different thing. Like it's hard to grade comedy, right? Can a comedy stay timeless? Can a comedy stay? Because I mean, obviously, the world has gotten to the point now where they hate comedy. We can't have comedies now. I was actually going to talk about that. Maybe that should be our topic for 2 weeks from now. Is maybe we should all come with think about a topic of underrated comedies. Just come up with like they're not the we'll put a moratorium. You can't bring Mel Brooks. You can't bring you can't bring Mel Brooks. You got to find something that's a little more off the beaten path of a good comedy. That's a good comedy. Maybe it's something we haven't seen, or maybe something that people don't hold that. Yeah. Now, Mel Brooks is in a special class, especially right now. Like, talk about doing a talk hard. We should do a talk hard of Blazing Saddles just to irritate people. And just purposely play 7 seconds of some of those clips just to antagonize. See, the Jerk is almost mainstream, man. I think the Jerk's not obscure enough. I don't want to spoil any of my thoughts. I've been thinking about this. Like, how do you, because comedy's like dead. Like, they're not allowed. And when it's tried, it's bad. As, trust me, I've seen the last couple of days. Go ahead.
I mean, my mind goes to what I think was a fairly underrated era of comedy, even though it was pretty mainstream. It's like that 2000s, the like 2010 era where like almost any comedian could have gotten a movie off the ground. Like Dane Cook got three or four
movies. Yeah.
Well, you look at like Billy Madison, something that Adam Sandler did very early in his career, and him sitting there talking to a bathtub fixture, and you go, he's like, Stop looking at me, Swan. I can see like producers going, who the hell is this, and why are we making this movie? Yeah. But it was funny as shit, and he pulled it off, and that was early Adam Sandler. Now I can't. Yeah.
Where he's arguing with the shampoo and the conditioner.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will tell you, my wife and I had like the, crappy comedy rewatch of Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. There are story arcs in those films. We can't get story arcs in like major motion pictures. They're like, there's barely story arcs in like Jurassic Park Dominion. Like there's pieces of story arcs. There's not really story arcs. Yet Grown Ups actually has story arcs. I told my wife when we watched it, I was like, she's like, what's going on? I said, honey, I just saw Jurassic Park Dominion, and this movie has characters that change and evolve more than the Jurassic Park movie. I mean, can we not write anymore? And I'm like, never mind. Don't answer that. She knows how I feel about writing right now. So,
that was a good movie.
Look, it's dumb. Most Adam Sandler, he would tell you they're dumb. He purposely is like, listen, I just want to have a good time. I want you to have a good time. Like dude does not take himself as seriously as people think he does. I don't know. I actually like the guy a lot. I've seen a lot of interviews and stuff with him, especially on some of the sports channels. You can see who he's really like. Anyway, so there we go. We did Terror on the Prairie. I thought it was a great suggestion. Give kudos to Loki on that because I think it was really not a lot of attention's being made to this film. It's obviously being sort of shadow banned and all that. So I thought we did a good job there. And I think Ironcatcher, you brought up a great transition. We should just take a moment, pause. We will definitely do more on my show tomorrow. Somebody's having a grand freaking day, and we should all be happy for him. It is Eric July Day, my friends. He is still trending on Twitter. Crossed $1 million.
That's how you
basically, what, 30 hours? It was like 30 hours, basically. I love it. This is a Tug. Tug jumps in. Eric July is trending. Why? Because Eric July made $1 million in one day on Rippaverse, baby, wrecking a mainstream dinosaur that like pretending it isn't a relic. Booyah. Freaking great.
It's crazy, like the amount of like how much all the like kind of we'll say establishments are trying to like even act like this isn't a thing going on, like to the point where the comic book subreddit has outright banned posts about the campaign.
Yep.
This screen shows you the problem because basically you're saying everyone spends like $100, and it was like $100. It is only 10,000 people, and it's a 96-page comic book. Now, most comic books are, 24 to 30 pages. Depends if they're what era we're in with ads. If you go to older comic books, because of all the ads, there's actually only like some comic books. There's some Uncanny X-Men that only has like 18 to 22 pages in them. There's so many ads. The fact that they can't sell more than, let's say, 40,000 issues and they can't make a profit shows they are just an outdated trap. It's a bureaucracy. It's got to be too many chiefs and not enough Indians. It's too many administrative assistants and bureaucracy and crap. Because if this guy can just front a couple $100,000 and make $1 million in a day, something's freaking wrong. And I'm glad he called it out.
It just shows mainstream's a dinosaur. They are on they live in a different effing planet than we do. Where they're like, oh, if we talk about this and if we have these types of characters, and oh my God, if this person has a rainbow cape, they think that's important to comic book fans. They think they're going to get a new generation of comic book fans that's going to stick with him. They aren't. No one likes this shit. No one wants to read this shit. And most of them don't have the money to buy it. We just watched the Reva lightsaber failure from Disney because no one wants to spend $500 on a nobody's lightsaber.
So stupid.
She's a no one. No one gives a shit about her. No one's like, oh my God, she's like the bestest ever. And if they are, they don't have any money and they live in mama's basement.
Meanwhile, you look at what the other campaign they have at the same time. The Hiss tank is double where it was at, and double what the target was. And there's like nothing really coming out, propping up G.I. Joe. I mean, yeah, Snake Eyes had a movie, but that's been forgettable.
He wasn't Snake Eyes in that movie, just so we're completely clear.
And it shows you just how far down Star Wars has fallen.
Star Wars is a joke. Like before the show, Loki and I were discussing Heir of the Empire and Dark Empire and how we're reading these 1990s comic books of Star Wars because there's just nothing appealing about it. Dave Bob says they are apoplectic. Couldn't agree more. And young Ripa cost $1 million in 28 hours, and considering he invested $200,000 of his own money to start it, it is a major slap in the face of mainstream comics. The gauntlet has been thrown. Amen, brother. Awesome one chops in there. calling me Pop Rocks. That's his new one for today. All right. He's always throwing nicknames at me. Always throwing the nicknames. So, and Reba might get her own show. I don't think so. I think that was all just some nonsense out there. But I'm glad Loki and I'm glad Loki and Mexican Iron Man talked about it because it really does just show. And I got to be honest, I wish they would do more of that, Loki. I know you were questioning why is Disney even bothering. I wish there was so much more of this was crowdfunded and was like organized in that way so that only money would go in the right places.
The shit I just want would get into their hands.
Yeah. And like I said, I hope, because I don't think Marvel and DC will collapse to the point where they'll be, well, they could be sold, but I think more likely it'll get licensed out. Stuff will get licensed out. You'll get people who can afford to buy. And that's what I really hope for. You get some people like, could you imagine EVS buying the rights to do DC stuff again? Those people will lose. They talk about the internet melting down.
Lose their minds.
Meltdown.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it will never happen because at one point Disney had outright bought the rights to the Power Rangers, and they turned around and sold them for a loss back to the original owner.
Yeah. They don't know what they're doing.
It can be done.
That's what I'm hoping for is next. I really hope that more of this comes. I really hope the Daily Wire. Maybe we should do another Daily Wire film. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that down the road again. I think it's great. I want to give them some attention and give them a fair shake. I think we're pretty fair. I think that it's a very Midland. Terror on the Prairie is a very Midland film. It's not really bad. It's not great. It's okay. It's good. And I think that's where a lot of films are. It used to be pretty norm that most films got a 2.5 star to 3 star review. That's pretty much the norm. If I gave something a 3.5 star, that meant it was pretty good. And a great film was 4. Very rarely ever. An Oscar film, maybe, like some stuff that would be very elite, would be in the 4.5. And the 5 was a unicorn. And I have to be honest, with a 5, it doesn't usually hold with time. Like, for instance, I saw Dunkirk. Well, I've rewatched Dunkirk. I'd kind of pull that back a little bit. Probably a 4. Maybe a 4.5. It's like this and that, not a 5. I'd revisit my initial thoughts on some of those things. I think that's the thing with ranking some of this. So, Awesome One says, so I called my planet Cornerstone instead. All right. And Pops says, I've seen EVS get the rights to do a major DC title and make it successful would be great. And that is what worries all of the woke mafia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. And that's why I think the Ripa thing is a big deal, because it shows that, like, for instance, it really wouldn't take too much to believe you could get sort of other top tier people like Critical Drinker, who's already an author, right? Let's say Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, these high profile pop culture figures who could partner with a comic book creative team and make a title and probably raise $1 million. I have no doubt they could probably do that. I think Critical Drinker doesn't market his stuff quite under his brand the same way he does his YouTube content. I think that's another reason why it's not quite as mainstream. But the world has changed in the last 12 months. Even after the pandemic, I think we're still seeing a lot of evolution. So, and I heard Loki's writing a book. So I'm down to see what happens. We got to keep encouraging one another to do it, man. Got to do our stuff, man. Got to do our stuff. Yeah. So, Awesome says, I was just thinking the majority of all media is 3 or under and never given a notice. Now everything is a 4 or 5 stars or else. Yeah. It's all about Rotten Tomatoes and being a 90. How could there be so many 90s? It's so weird to me. Everything has to be a 92, 93, 94, 95. 90. Oh, no. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Because they're getting paid to do that.
They're definitely bribed, if not outright paid. All right, gentlemen. So what is going on this week? We have Mornings of Mischief, of course, with Stone Loki. He's rocking every morning. 8 a.m. his time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. You have Thursday night is at 7 p.m. Eastern time, right? 6?
Yes, it is. 7 p.m. No, 7
you
p.m.
and Adega, the doctor.
7 p.m. Central. Yeah.
Okay, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. Okay, so that's Thursday, and then late nights on Friday, right?
Yep, late night show with Mexican Iron Man. Most of the time, Jolly took over.
Yeah, it was
week, he actually
hijacked.
took
It was
over everything.
hijacked.
It was the Jolly show.
It was hijacked.
So strange.
It
just hijacked it. Now I got
fun.
an invite instead of sending an invite out and inviting someone on the show. I got an invite to come on his show on my channel. It was so strange.
I didn't know it was so easy to hijack your show. I'm like,
I
I'm gonna
didn't
start
either.
making some phone calls and emails. I'm like, how do we
Mexican
do this?
Iron Man
How do we do
leaves
this?
the keys out. He leaves the keys out. Mike left the key out to the
I got
studio, and it just got taken.
I gotta send Mike an email. How do I get a key? I got it. Ironcaster, what about you, my friend? What's going on?
Well, Thursday I'm looking to do a little bit more Gundam coverage over on my channel. It's been a while since we've got a couple episodes left, and we'll be finishing the series up. And then Friday, probably right around the same time that your stream's going on, Loki, I'll be over on Nick Weiser's where we're doing some comic shop shop talk. And
Nice.
I got a few new books in the mail.
All right,
I got
let's do something.
Nice.
I got some more
Elric.
Elric.
Oh, dude.
Ooh,
Yes.
Yeah.
The Elric saga. Yes.
I already had volume 1, but then I got 2 and 3.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Plus, I should be getting in the mail soon some copies of the Sumerian.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
like a little
yeah.
Conan the
yeah.
Barbarian
A little
action.
some more Conan stuff there. Yeah.
Should I show Ironcaster?
Oh. Well, I'll show you this. I got my Fur and the Tramp. This was a show and tell moment from Project Storytime. I reached out to the creators who said they would do a show or a stream, and I'm like, how could we not have some fun dealing with Charlie Chaplin? Look at this. Look at this. This is comedy. For those of you that can't remember what comedy is, this is comedy. This is gold. I cannot wait.
And that's from Source Point Press.
The
The publisher in the back, the little star point.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's see what Loki's going to show. Hold on. Let's see. Loki's showing them. There they go.
They're mint. They're mint.
They're
And they just
beautiful
need to be
looking.
graded and slabbed. All 6.
Those are
all
Dave Dorman
6.
covers, right? Did Dorman do those covers? Those are Dorman covers?
Yes.
Yeah, Dorman's covers are just incredible.
They've never been read. They've never been taken out of the only time they've been taken out of the bags and boards is to put them in a new bag and board. And that was done every year. So there was another set that was slabbed and graded. Those were 9.9s, and she had those for $2,500 a piece.
Yeah, 9.9s are unicorns. Like, it's extremely rare with a normal comic book that you can get a 9.9. Basically, a 9.8 is considered perfect. And it's like all the stuff above that is just, it's out of bounds. It's out of bounds. So Chris Berger's throwing out the links.
We sprung for the 450 to get them, and we're going to have them graded. And hopefully we will get a very good grade on them. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Chris Berger put out the link there to Ironcaster's site. Make sure you connect there. Get some Gundam talk. I'm looking forward to that. Dave Bob throwing out a great Mel Brooks reference. History of the World Part 1. Yep. Anything with Mel Brooks, man. Anything with Mel Brooks. And just a lot of love. A lot of love for these comics. A lot of love for stuff. It's a great comic book day. Rip has made us all feel good about it. I'm feeling good. So, and I get more of that all week. I get more of this all week. Guys, tomorrow I have news talk. We get to do some fun news talk with Mags. Mags going to be back in the house with me. We have a great newer YouTuber, Eric O'Sullivan. Caught him on Wakazishi Tea House.
Eric's a good guy. Eric's
really cool guy. Lots of personality. I really wish he had a more diverse approach to some of his content because he's so knowledgeable about a lot of different things. Can't wait to have him in and talk about some stuff. And the T-shirted one will be back with me. T-shirt historian's going to be in, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him in a minute. So he'll be back with us tomorrow. We'll be covering some new stories and talking some different things. And then on Thursday, the day, Graham Nolan will be in my house. Graham Nolan, 5:30 Eastern time. I told him I will try not to nerd out, Graham. I literally will try. I promise to try to behave. But if you grew up in the 80s and 90s like I did, and you were a Batman fan like I was, this guy was just part of everything. And my friend texted me because I can't believe it. He was like, I love the Phantom comic strip, and it's like, yeah, Graham I think underestimates his legacy in the business. He does not, I think, give himself the kind of promotion. And he's indie now, right? So here I got his Alien Alamo right here. This is my next review. I'm going to be doing readout. After we're done, I'm going to be reading these and trying to figure out a way to do a review on some of those. And then after that at 7:30 Eastern time, Noob Reviews. She's a comic book. Her name is Megan. If you haven't seen we have a freaking bot. Look at this. What's going on up in here? Get on out of here.
There.
Look at that. We've made
Welcome to YouTube, Pops.
Well, I've had it a couple times, just never on Talk Hard. So, which is funny with the name. Noob Megan went to the Dallas Comic-Con. I refuse. I hate all this fan expo nonsense. Anyway, her excitement of listening to her talk about comic books, I was so excited. I was like, it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating. Listen to her. She's so excited about, she was like going on and on about like I don't know, was it a Casper comic book? What was it she going on? It was just like cartoony comic books. And then when she was doing like the Wolverine, like it was a limited series Wolverine by Miller and Claremont, I'm like, this is great. So we're going to talk. We're going to chat. And I think she's the perfect example of like, how do people get in the industry or get into like the fandom coming along late? You know what I mean? Like, we're into this for so long of our lives. We grew up with some of this stuff. It's hard to even tell them where to begin. So I told Mags I would try to help her get into it more because Mags had the same kind of thing. But definitely with Megan, I'm gonna go over a few things and talk through some comic book love with her. So comic book stuff all week for me, man. I'm good.
Yeah, it's kind of it's really unfortunate when you look at with Western comics, i.e. the American comic book industry versus like manga. If someone were to ask you, where do I start with Batman, you would have to like take a serious stop to consider that before you were to answer. Whereas if someone were to ask, where do I start with, Naruto or One Piece, the answer is simple. Volume 1.
Yeah, but I'm okay with Batman because I would just say, no, you got to go buy some trade paperbacks so you can find out what you kind of like and don't like. And there's a couple of stories. So you go get Year One. You can get Dark Knight Returns. You can do Killing Joke. You can get Death in the Family. You can get Hush. There's major storylines that are so epic. Something like X-Men, like I told you with X-Men. It's like, what are the best X-Men? It's like, all right, well, you go to Dark Phoenix Saga. You go to Days of Future Past. You go to certain ones to kind of help people. Like, what are you interested in? I think is where you kind of land because the other thing about Megan is Megan's really into Conan. It's great to see her into Conan. It's like, it's the best. Anyway, it's called Noob Reviews, folks. If you haven't seen Noob Reviews, I'm telling you, she is at one moment reading about like Mickey Mouse and then like old Batman Robin comics and Conan and Wolverine. Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun to find new people in this. And then I think Wednesday, it's a week from tomorrow, I have Mike Barron on. Mike Barron again wrote some stuff again, some of this Star Wars stuff, Loki, that we love so much. Barron had his fingers in, man. Barron was so good. That Rogue Squadron I showed you. That's a Mike Barron. And just so good. Oh, these guys were they make all that new stuff you were talking about Ironcast look like the freaking JV squad, because that's what it is, in my opinion. So, well, gentlemen, we survived. We did it. We talked hard. Folks, listen, you guys have a blessed week. Make tomorrow better than today. And, go out there for yourselves, talk hard, and, let me just pat myself on the back. Let Dick Harvey say nice.
My favorite quality about Pops is that he's incredibly honest.
Oh, well, that was weird. I don't know what happened there. All right. Well, hey, folks, we're going to go ahead and close her out. That's what we're going to do. See ya. Have a good one, my friend.